Local community banks can be a blessing for those hoping to start a small business. For one, it's easier to speak to someone in person, and you're also more likely to get a loan. But there is concern community banks may become a thing of the past. ABC 7's Christopher Brantley joins us with why. Christopher.
Well, Alan, certainly following the market crash in 2008, the U.S. government, hoping to ensure it didn't happen again, imposed tougher regulation on banks. That act is called Dodd-Frank. And while many hoped it would prevent another banking issue, some believe it could have created one. Sabal Palm Bank is a small community-focused bank. Its president and CEO, Neil McCurry Jr., took over the bank in 2013.
Sabal Palm, like most banks, still had lingering residual loan problems from the recession.
McCurry said when he took over, Sabal Palm had more than they could handle in non-performing loans that weren't being paid on.
We had approximately 5% of our assets were non-performing. However, 5% of your assets, non-performing assets, takes about a third of your time.
Much of that was caused by the economy crash in 2007 and 2008. In response to the crash, Congress enacted 22,000 pages of regulations called the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act, meant to hold banks more accountable for the loans they hand out. But it could have backfired. According to the New York Times, the number of community banks has gone down 14% between Dodd-Frank's passage in 2010 to 2014.
Banks have always historically sold to other banks over time. The difference was that new banks were being created at the same time to replace them. And what we've really seen since the onset of the recession is that essentially no new banks have been starting in the United States and certainly in Florida.
According to McCurry, with all those new regulations, starting a bank now would be completely different than when he started one in 1999.
In 1999, when I started a bank, it took a little under $6 million to start a new institution in this area, and the requirements would likely be $20 to $25 million in today's market.
Dr. Laura Mattia is a financial advisor and financial planning program director at the University of South Florida.
Whenever there's a problem, the answer by the regulators is to create additional regulation. The problem with that is that it doesn't usually get at the heart of the problem.
Mattia, like so many, say the problem in 2007 and 8 was a lead-up of years of bad loans and poor ethics on Wall Street.
The terrible thing is that a lot of this regulation was really put in place because of the problems that the larger banks created, not the smaller banks. Yet it's the smaller banks that are being hit the hardest.
If you are brave enough to start a new bank, McCurry says be prepared to be watched closely.
Regulators are going to scrutinize the people involved as well. They're going to want to make sure you have the experience, the background, and the depth of knowledge to properly adhere to all the regulations that we operate under.
I still don't think that it prevents anything bad from happening. I think that they could continue to, just as long as you fill out this paperwork and do these certain things, it doesn't necessarily mean that the behavior is going to change.
But community banks do have a large impact on the community. Take Sabal Palm, for example.
In 2015, made over $35 million in loans to people, businesses, entrepreneurs, and the local community. We only lend money to people and businesses in this area. In 2016 through August, we've already done over $31 million, so we're certainly on track to greatly exceed last year.
With all those loans, McCurry tells us they have 0 non-performing loans, a stark contrast to the 5% they had in 2013. And McCurry doesn't tell people to stay away from starting a new bank.
You've got to be willing to work hard and have a true spirit of entrepreneurism to want to do it. And but I think it's a great opportunity.
And now to give you some perspective here, we looked at the FDIC website, which tells you how much each bank has in assets. And hold on to your hats, folks. Bank of America reported $2.1 trillion in 2016. Wells Fargo reported $1.8 trillion. And Sabal Palm reported $135 million. Alan?
Christopher, thank you.